Welcome back to Mr. Sami Recap. Today we're diving into the action-packed thriller, The Mechanic 2011. Grab your popcorn and buckle up for an intense ride. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button as we jump into the recap. The movie kicks off in Colombia as a plane lands in a remote spot. A man named Jorge is led to an undisclosed location. They hit a roadblock, but Jorge's team quickly clears it. The group reaches Jorge's opulent mansion. While Jorge swims, he notices his watch at the pool's bottom. Diving to grab it, he's halted by a shadowy figure with a breathing device, who holds him underwater until he stops moving. Jorge's guard, spotting him in the pool, thinks he's just swimming. The assassin lets Jorge go, unnoticed by the guard. Then we meet Arthur Bishop. As Jorge's body is found, guards swarm the estate. Arthur, posing as a cook, glides through the house and swaps outfits outside. Jorge's allies are left confused. Meanwhile, Arthur heads to a bridge, dives into the river, and escapes by boat. In New Orleans, Arthur steps off a truck and strolls to a pier, boarding a boat to his hideout. Inside, he keeps photos of targets he's tasked to eliminate, sometimes staging mishaps, sometimes framing others. He leaves, meets a contact named Henry at a dock, and hands over cash. At a cafe, Arthur meets Harry McKenna, who arrives with 2 bodyguards. Arthur confirms the task is done, and Harry is satisfied. But Arthur learns his next mark is Harry, which stuns him. He arranges a meeting with Dean, who reveals a failed mission in Africa, known only to him and Harry, where 5 men perished. Harry betrayed them, pocketing $20 million in an offshore account. Arthur has 48 hours to act. The next day, Arthur and Harry work on their laptops. Arthur digs into the Africa job, verifying Dean's story. He warns Harry to clear the building, telling him to cut the power and move carefully to the elevator lobby. Arthur guides Harry to the basement, where Harry finds his van destroyed. Seeing Arthur, Harry realizes it's about the Africa job. Harry had staged a carjacking to fake his death, relying on his friend Arthur to assist. Harry shot up his own car, but people wondered why he didn't just end it himself. Harry insisted Arthur was his only trusted ally. Arthur shoots him, but is tormented by guilt for killing his friend. At Harry's funeral, his son Steve greets Arthur briefly before leaving. Yeoh. Later, Steve asks Arthur for a lift. They chat, and Steve learns his father cared deeply for him, despite their estrangement. With Harry's house facing foreclosure, Steve says his father's money vanished, and he refuses to touch any funds from his death. As Arthur leaves, Steve asks who would shoot a man in a wheelchair. Arthur, rattled, walks away. Later, Steve trashes the house, then parks somewhere. A man offers help, but Steve declines. The man pulls a gun, demanding the car. Steve, hunting his father's killers, savagely beats the man and nearly kills him when Arthur steps in, stopping him. Arthur releases the man and drives Steve away. The next day, Arthur is shopping when Steve confronts him, asking to be trained as a hitman. Arthur refuses and checks out a boat he wants to buy. That night, staring at a photo of his friend, Arthur calls Steve, setting a meeting time and place. At their meeting, Arthur explains he's a mechanic, a hitman who fixes problems for others. He warns it's a harsh life and they adopt a dog. Arthur stresses that a mechanic needs a specific mindset. Revenge isn't part of it. The next day, Arthur tells Steve to visit a coffee shop daily for 3 weeks, order black coffee, sit by the window, and solve Sudoku puzzles. He also takes Steve to a shooting range to sharpen his combat skills and gives him a book on insurance, listing nearly every way a person can die, urging him to study it. After losing his home and car, Steve moves in with Arthur, honing his marksmanship. Arthur takes him to a rough area to meet a gun dealer. Arthur kills the dealer to show Steve the brutal reality. Back home, Arthur explains the dealer's shady dealings and introduces their next target, Burke, a rival hitman who loves chihuahuas. Their plan unfolds smoothly. Steve's invited for a drink, armed with poison. That night, Steve grabs the poison but pockets it, thanking Burke before leaving. Burke offers him a ride despite Arthur's objections. At Burke's lavish home, Steve, acting reckless, tries to kill Burke the same way Arthur dispatched the dealer. The plan fails, sparking a fierce fight. Steve is battered but grabs a screwdriver, stabbing Burke repeatedly until he's dead. Returning to Arthur's place, Arthur is unhappy with Steve's brutal approach but stays composed. The next day, Arthur picks up a package at the airport, finding cash and a phone inside. He calls the number, speaking with Dean, who reveals an outsider was hired for his job. Though irritated, Dean stresses the next mission's urgency. Back home, Arthur pins up the new target, and Steve helps organize files. The target, Mark, amassed wealth through fraudulent churches, leading Steve to call him a cult leader. They devise a plan to kill him using adrenaline in Chicago. Steve mentions a woman who left a Bible study with him and later died. Their target checks into a hotel as they gear up. Climbing the building's exterior, Arthur plants cameras. They watch Mark eat and retire to bed. Resuming their ascent, they reach the rooftop and enter the hotel. The tight space forces them to send a camera through the vents, confirming the room is empty. Mark returns, and through audio surveillance, they hear his complaints. A doctor enters, injecting Mark with a substance that neutralizes their adrenaline, forcing a plan change. As the doctor leaves, they slip in, kill Mark, and escape just as the doctor returns and finds him dead. Guards cover it up, but Steve dislodges a bolt in the vents, drawing attention. Steve takes out one guard, and they flee under gunfire. Arthur neutralized several pursuers with hand-to-hand combat, and Steve joins in. They rappel off the building amidst bullets, break into a room as police arrive, and split up to evade capture. Arthur heads to the airport, but spots a man from the Africa mission, presumed dead, and follows him. On a bus, Arthur questions him about Africa. The man admits Dean paid him to kill the other four, and Harry's suspicions led to Arthur's contract. The hitman pulls a knife, and a fight erupts in the tight space. Arthur wounds him and throws him out, where he's killed by a passing car. Back at the pier, Arthur finds Henry missing. Armed men swarm the dock, but Arthur emerges from the water, taking out three. Seeing Henry dead, he calls Dean to warn him. Boarding his boat, Arthur contacts Steve, only to face a gun. He directs Steve to a hidden weapon in the sofa, which Steve uses to kill the circling hitman. Arthur instructs Steve to grab boxes for transport while he searches for Dean's bodyguard. Steve finds his father's gun, but stays silent. En route to Dean, Steve asks if Arthur thinks about those he's killed. Arthur admits to killing people he knew, expressing deep regret. At Dean's guard's home, they attack, cornering his family. Arthur grabs the man's daughter, threatening her to make him talk, but it's a ruse using food as a decoy. Arthur learns Harry's contract was worth $50 million. Dean offers $10 million to back off, but Arthur refuses. Dean orders his men to eliminate Arthur. They set up a camera at the building's entrance. Arthur monitors from a car while Steve drives a bus. Spotting Dean's car, Arthur rams a nearby van. Dean's men fire, but Arthur leaps into a truck. Steve crashes the bus into another vehicle. Arthur kills Dean's driver, drags Dean out, and they execute him. Mission complete. Arthur urges Steve to disappear, offering him a choice to join. As Steve grabs water, Arthur spots Harry's gun. They drive to a gas station, where Steve douses the car with petrol, pulls his father's gun, and fires, causing an explosion that seems to kill Arthur. Steve returns to Arthur's place, plays music, and drives off. The music stops, triggering a bomb that destroys the house and car. A note in the car declares Steve's death as it explodes. Gas station footage later shows Arthur escaping before the blast, revealing he's alive. The second film opens with Arthur waking, starting his music player, sipping coffee, and grabbing the paper. He steps off his boat, arming a device as a precaution. Now living leisurely, biking, and sightseeing, he enters a restaurant and is led to his usual spot. A woman confronts him, saying her employer wants 3 targets killed, made to look accidental or she'll disrupt his peace. Arthur snaps her photo, sparking a brawl with her allies. He takes down 6 men, escaping by climbing a wall. They chase him to a lift, but he's atop it, jumping onto a paraglider to flee. At night, he returns to find someone on his boat, triggering the bomb remotely. At a storage unit, he opens a hidden floor compartment, accessing a laptop with a woman's image, burns his passport, and grabs weapons. In southern Thailand, Arthur sails to the coast, meeting an old friend, May. He explains his situation, and she confirms no one has approached her boss's place. He opens another hidden compartment, revealing passports and guns. Paying $10,000, he links the earlier woman to Rhea Crane. The next morning, a woman named Gina asks May for a first aid kit. May notices Gina's bruises, and sensing trouble, contacts Arthur. He initially dismisses it, but relents. Disabling Gina's boat engine, he confronts a man who ignores his warnings. Arthur neutralizes him, hands Gina to May, and finds a gun in his photo below deck. He sails to a remote spot, sets the boat ablaze with a flare, and erases evidence. Questioning Gina, she admits Crane forced her to lure Arthur by faking danger, tasked to call a number after his rescue. The next day, Arthur walks the beach with Gina, spotting a distant boat watching them. He plays along with Crane's men, attending a local wedding. At night, Gina thanks Arthur, apologizing for involving him. Her shelter protects children from horrific crimes threatened by Crane. Arthur shares his past as an orphan sold to a mobster, trained as a soldier alongside Crane, who didn't escape. Gina, empathetic, hugs him. The next day, Crane's men and local police storm the beach, abducting Gina. Arthur is overpowered and handed a phone. Taken to a Bangkok mansion, a bomb activates as Crane appears. Arthur offers Crane one chance to back off. Crane, amused, hands him a dossier with 3 targets. The first, Krill, a mass murderer and arms trafficker, is in prison, shielded from enemies. Gina is taken to a yacht, and Arthur begins his routine, studying wall heights and sea sharks. Spotting a wanted poster resembling him, he copies the man's tattoos and forges a passport. In the city, he provokes police, who arrest him as Crane's men watch. Inside the prison, Arthur identifies Krill, surrounded by henchmen. An inmate says Krill killed many, but guards protect him. Arthur disarms a man with a knife. When another inmate attacks Krill, Arthur throws his knife, saving Krill. Grateful, Krill invites him to dinner, but Arthur declines, uneasy with the crowd. Krill dismisses the guards. That night, corrupt guards lead Arthur to Krill's luxury suite. Krill boasts of ruling Africa post-release. Arthur chokes him with a towel, forces poison down his throat, and stages meditation. As guards check, Arthur applies shark repellent, blows out the wall, and dives into the sea. Crane's crew retrieves him. Arthur demands to speak with Gina. Crane allows it, and she confirms she's okay, but says Crane gave him 36 hours for the next target, Adrian Cook, a mining tycoon on a skyscraper's 58th floor, with impregnable security. Crane notices Arthur's father's watch on Gina. Arthur buys a lower floor, distracts a woman to photograph her key, and studies floor plans. Disguised as a mechanic, he plants a homemade bomb under Adrian's floor. Climbing to the pool, he uses a suction tool to hang 58 floors up, setting explosives. Adrian spots him too late as the pool bursts, sending Adrian plummeting. News stuns Crane. During the video call, Gina angles the camera to show the boat's background. A henchman strikes her for it. Arth contacts the harbor master, gets the ship's coordinates, and flies a helicopter to find it gone. He leaps into the water, searching for the boat. With stealth, Arthur infiltrates the ship, silently eliminating sentries as he closes in on Gina. He descends to the lower deck, clashing fiercely with more enemies. Spotting Gina, he's abruptly pinned by gunfire from all directions. With swift precision, Arthur neutralizes his assailants, but is soon overpowered and brought before Crane. Crane demands Arthur take out a third target. As Crane departs, Arthur resumes his attack, dispatching more foes before plunging into the water, using a concealed breathing device to slip away. In Bulgaria, Arthur stalks the streets, plotting to eliminate his third target, Max Adams, an American arms dealer. Max's stronghold boasts an impregnable security network and elite submarines. Intel reveals Crane now controls much of the global arms trade after Krill and Adrian's deaths, intent on crushing all competitors. Arthur heads to a hospital, scales to the rooftop with his sniper rifle, and intentionally shoots a man in the leg, prompting a helicopter response. Hiding aboard the chopper, he breaches Max's compound, disabling cameras and neutralizing guards. In the control room, he subdues the staff. Spotting an elevator heading to the panic room via the ventilation system, he triggers an explosion. Yet Max reaches the panic room, using an eye scan to enter, only to find Arthur waiting inside. Arthur insists he just wants to negotiate, exposing Crane's plan to eliminate them both. He offers Max a deal to survive, which Max eagerly accepts. They walk out, plotting their strategy. Arthur plans to use the submarines and Max's staged death as a lure. Max, excited, fakes his demise with Arthur's help, using an underwater breathing device. News of Max's death reaches Crane, who agrees to free Gina once his men verify it and seize the submarines. Arthur returns to the base, rigging deadly trap, anticipating Crane's men. As the soldiers arrive and disperse, Arthur's traps cut through their ranks. He unleashes more, wielding grenades, rifles, and whatever's at hand, launching a grenade at the troops, enraging Crane. Arthur boards a submersible, heading for Crane, who has taken Gina as bait, and monitors cameras to track him. Emerging from the water, Arthur abandons soul code against vengeance, hurling a blade at a camera, unnerving Crane. Advancing toward Gina, he takes out nearby men. Gina tries to flee but is shot in the abdomen. Crane holds her hostage while Arthur, elsewhere, uses an enemy as a shield to clear the area. The battle intensifies. A grenade eliminates another henchman. Crane triggers the boat's self-destruct mechanism. With time running out, Arthur finds Gina in the control room, locates the bomb, places her in an escape pod, and launches it. Crane wants Arthur dead, but Arthur's combat skills overwhelm them. Arthur and Crane exchange gunfire, then shift to hand-to-hand when ammo runs out. Arthur overpowers Crane, who accuses him of abandoning him in their past. The fight continues. Crane swings a chain, but Arthur catches it, tying him to the boat. The vessel explodes, and Gina, watching the wreckage, weeps. A rescue ship arrives, and responders flood the scene. Max, observing, tells his men Gina was told no one survived, adding that even legends fall. After some time, Gina returns to her children's shelter in Cambodia. She writes to May, expressing gratitude but mourning Arthur's loss. The film closes with Gina surrounded by her kids, but as she glances outside, she's shocked. Arthur stands beside her, alive. In the final scene, Max reviews the boat's security footage, realizing Arthur used a hidden compartment to cheat death once more. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.